Uh, Moving further on micronutrients fortification and the strategies for public health, I'll call upon Dr. Subrata Datta, India Co-ordinator Fortification Initiative, to speak on CE-grade fortification, the recent trend evidences. Dr. Datta has 18 years professional experience in public health, food and nutrition. He is currently the India representative of Food Fortification Initiative, a global partnership body of United Nations and international development agencies established under CDC Foundation, Atlanta. Dr. Datta works closely with the government, UN and international development agencies for technical and capacity building support to various stakeholders, including the government, to develop and implement mass food fortification strategy and program in India. He is author of several books and has contributed hundreds of articles and features in leading national dailies and weeklies. He made a couple of documentary films on social issues. I now request Dr. Datta to please proceed with his presentation.
Thanks to the organizer and AIMS Jodhpur for giving me the opportunity to discuss on cereal fortification. So in this presentation, briefly discuss about mic is here. Can you hear me? So I'll discuss more precisely on these 5 or 6 areas: micronutrient deficiencies, overview and progress, why you need to fortify, potential health impact and evidences, WHO recommendations for flour fortification, and what are the opportunities and challenges in the country. So this is a slide. WHO considers if the prevalence of anemia is more than 40%, and then it's a serious public health issue. If you look at, and this is a common fact, if you look at the prevalence of anemia in the country, most of the states, I would say the majority of the states have more than 40%. I'm giving just an example of slides of women in the age group of 15 to 49 years. If you look at the trend, if you include children, almost 70% of the children under 5, they are anemic. Wheat flour is commonly fortified with iron and folic acid. Let us look at the iron deficiency since it affects majority of the population in the country. Iron is required for the children's cognitive and brain and physical growth. If a children is deficit in iron and the cognitive skills they lose at the early stage, it cannot be regained at the later stage. Women, they need more iron than the men, and majority of the women in the country, they are also iron deficit. Think about the consequences in a country like India. For majority of the population, they are anemic, and the impact of anemia on the total workforce in the country. Every woman needs certain amount of folic acid or the folate to prevent certain type of birth defects. And you are probably familiar with one type of birth defect that is called spina bifida. Spina bifida is a type of birth defects where when the spine of the children is not properly formed, and the spina bifida can be treated, but it cannot be cured. Probably you are not familiar with another type of birth defects, which is anal sulci, which is where the brain of the child is not properly developed. In most of the cases, anal sulci children die after birth. So it is very hard to get the data on neurodevelopmental defects. This is one type of birth defects. But we accumulated data from various studies which show India has a very high prevalence of birth defects, and it's a high burden in the country. Recently, Ministry of Health introduced RDTS as a program. Probably we can accumulate more data from the states to the Department of Health. So I'll discuss more about the overview and progress of this country. as well as what is happening globally in fortification. So look at the way of countries where we have a consumption of 70%, 5% per gram per day per population, per person. And why there is a possibility that you can fortify flour. If your consumption is less than 75 grams a day, then you should not adopt this strategy at all, because you are not going to get so much of public health benefits. Look at the red countries, where 81 countries have a mandate of fortifying flour today. When I say the mandate, they have a registration, and it is compulsory for all the industries. They have to fortify flour. And this is the same case with maize flour. Look at the grey countries where they have an availability of 75 grams per day per person. And if you look at the countries like grey countries where now only 12 countries have a mandate for maize fortification. This is one of the challenges. Maize is not so consumed in a country like India. It's more consumed in African countries. And indeed there are challenges in those countries that maize is processed in hammer mills. So this is one of the challenges in those countries. And again, the rice fortification. Grey countries, including India, you have a huge opportunity to fortify the rice. Rice technology as a technology is just evolved. So we need to have more evidences to fortify rice flour with different micronutrients. Only the countries like Costa Rica, Philippines, Papua New Guinea, Nicaragua, Panama, and US. Even in the US, wheat flour is mandated. But only 6 states in the US, they have a mandate for rice fortification, not in the whole country. And coming back to India, we have a very good history of flour fortification. It started with a very small program in Darjeeling district, way back in 2000. So that's the beginning of the flour fortification in the country. And West Bengal is a state, they studied up in the whole PGS system right now. And most of the dishes they have fortified with flour, which is given in the PGS system. Following West Bengal, there is one state, Gujarat, which started flour fortification way back in 2006. And Gujarat is probably one of the rarest states in the country where they used to fortify flour in the PDS, ICDS, and midday. Even in the open market, the flour which has been produced by mills, flour mills as well as chakki mills. And it has been followed by many other states like Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala. Tamil Nadu had a program of flour fortification in the previous. In rice fortification, there is not so much of programs going on right now. Only one pilot project which has been ongoing in the state of Odisha. And that is the midday food. What are the evidences and impact of flour fortification we have in the country as well as in the globe? If you look at the impact of folic acid fortification in the flour, which is really a proven strategy, it can have potential to reduce the neurotube defects by 31% to 78%. Overall reduction of neurotube defects is almost 46%. And look at the countries like there are several meta-analyses which shows that neurotube defects can be prevented in those countries through a strategy of flour fortification. We have a study which is being carried out by DBT and San John Research Institute. Professor Ramesh Kapil was talking about sodium and the EDTA. That study was carried out in a couple of years ago, and it has been seen it is quite effective, sodium and EDTA. Most of the programs in the country they used to use ferrous sulfate and ferrous fluoride as an iron fortification. And you can see from here this efficacy trial which could reduce the anemia level by 35%, iron deficiency anemia, 51% and iron deficiency by 61%. This is one of those old studies carried out by CILI. It's a very well-known NGO in West Bengal. There also they have found the impact of this law of nutrition. The anemia level declined by 16% in the adolescent girl, 40% in the school-going children, as well as 7% in the women as well. So overall, if you see wheat fortification as a strategy which is very significant for public health benefits, it increases the nutritional level of the population, it lowers the iron deficiency anemia as well as the defects. This is a cost-effective intervention with very minimal cost if you start the program, and you do not need to change any consumption patterns. When you promote fortification, we have to keep in mind that we are not promoting to consume more fortified food. So that has to be kept in mind, because we were trying to promote something using the supply chains, like VDS could be one supply chain, ICDS could be another, and could be another. So you can use those existing supply chains, as well as there are a lot of consumption which is happening in the open market. So that's why micronutrients, generally known as vitamins and minerals. So these are 20 or 31 nutrients which are very important for the whole body functions. And many of those nutrients, these are the 5 nutrients which you normally find very deficient in our food. And there are strategies also to overcome those deficiencies in the food. I always like to use these slides, which is my favorite slide. Normally you will see in any household, if you ask someone else, they will say, oh, I want to have an apple, it's very nutritious. Obviously nutritious, but if you look at the iron content in 100 grams of apple is quite minimal. It's the least in all the foods which is available here. Yes, certainly there are meats and wheat flour also natural, they have natural iron content. But if you put fortified flour, certainly it increases the iron content by many more. It's very hard to get folate from the normal food. If you need to have 400 microgram of folate from the food, then probably you need to consume 4 slices of beef liver, 44 medium ripe tomatoes, 14 cups of raw broccoli, and this is, you will all know, it's quite impossible for any woman to consume so much of food each and every day. If you look at the wheat as a grain, it contains a lot of iron. Normally it remains in the bread as well as in the jam. But when you process it, majority of the iron content goes away. Not only the iron, there are a lot of other vitamins and minerals that goes away. This is the graph. If you look at the estimation level of 75 to 80%, that means we are losing out almost 50 to 60% of the nutrients from the wheat. But equally it's very hard to get a data like in rice, because you have a variety of rices which is existing in the country. But what we did actually try to, give an estimate in tables with what are the highest and lowest quantity of nutrients which is existing in rice. So this is one of the reasons why we promote mandatory fortification, because there is a competition in the open market. If you are not managing it, it's most likely that one million do, another million not do it. It's very difficult to get fortified foods even in the country if you are not managing it. So we should not assume that the fortification is the only strategy that it can reduce all the deficiencies in the country. It can be one of the strategies, but we need to also have other interventions like supplementation, dietary diversification, as well as biofortification. Just let's speak a mention about that. What is the cost? Professor Coffey mentioned about the cost
flour, cost is quite minimum. You know, cost for the consumer it is about 3 to 10 paisa only. Why I mention 10 paisa? Because if you are using the good quality, more bioavailable form of iron, that you have to pay a bit more. Otherwise, cost is 3 paisa. So these are the minerals and vitamins which can be used in crop. Iron, zinc, folic acid, thiamine, hydrochloric, B12, vitamin A, and D. But WHO recommends only these 4 types of iron compounds: ferrous sulfate, ferrous membrane, elemental iron, as well as sodium iron. Sodium iron is only recommended to use in high-fatted flour, that is atta. There are various stakeholders which was part of this recommendation, as well as military consensus which is brought out by WHO. These are the standards. When is designing the program, we need to look at the consumption. If any state has a consumption is less than 75 grams per day, then we should not adopt this fortification strategy, especially the flour strategy. If the consumption is more than 75 grams, certainly you can go this strategy. There are discussions which led by NIN to set up standards on flour fortification. It has been recommended, it was sent to FSSA, we are also part of the stakeholders meeting. But still, we need to have standard guidelines on flour fortification. It's still in the ministry. What are the opportunities? So, under the Food Safety Act, if you look at the coverage of the population in the PDS, which happened to be 25%, it now increased to 67%. That means the PDS system is supposed to cover more population. That's such an excellent opportunity to reach out to the most vulnerable population in the country. And we should also encourage manual fortification in the open market. Otherwise, we will never be able to see any fortified flour in the market. And if you look at the trend of the markets right now, it's growing so fast. Gone those are the days we used to go to the chakki mills and we used to wash the grain and grind it in the small chakkis. Now people don't have any time, so they are more moving towards ready to eat atta or ready to eat maida. There should be a political will, and it's quite interesting. Despite of any guidelines, any standards from either from FSSA or the Ministry of Health, many state governments they promoted this fortification of flour, and there is a strong will at the state level because most of the regions are ahead of the state level. Just like the state-by-state approach is very much important, we need to engage state agencies, INGOs, NGOs, consumer organizations, flour industry together to start a program like this. State governments promote the fortified flour among the community to increase the awareness as well. What are the challenges? There is still a lack of political will at the central level. When it comes to fortification of flour or fortification of rice, it's not owned by any ministry as of now. Sometimes they will say it is the work of WCD ministry. Sometimes they will say that it's taken care of by the Food and Civil Supplies Department ministry. Sometimes they will say that it is the Ministry of Health should push it. We do not know. There are other agencies as well, like Ministry of Food Processing as well. So there are 5 to 6 ministries are doing this fortification program, but nobody had taken any ownership of this program as of now in the country. And also we need to have, now the program of flour fortification is very massive in the country, but we don't have any guidelines. We don't have any monitoring mechanisms to see those whether they are doing it or not. So this is very crucial to monitor the programs in the country. So these are the kind of challenges and barriers, and if you look at the trend of our market right now, so our assessment in various states say 50% of the flour which has been produced in organized mills now. at least the village mills are different. Maybe the branded products is not reaching to the village areas, but it is very fast it is growing. It could be an opportunity. There are a lot of organized commercial chakki mills. Earlier we have seen only single chakki mill. Now 4 chakkis, 5 chakkis mills, very organized. They are producing atta and supplying to the consumers in various districts. So these are the kind of changes and barriers. So the question is, like Gujarat, this program started in 2009 by our Prime Minister. That time he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. He was taking the whole leadership to launch these programs in Gujarat. Take the example of Rajasthan. That time I was involved very closely with that government to start this program, including the DA itself. We did join the advocacy district on this program. And it started in February 2011. Almost 90,000 tons of flour which was distributed, fortified flour distributed in the previous system. So if you look at the supply chain of Rajasthan, that's how this program was designed. It was coming directly from the FCI, lifted by the mill. After grinding and fortification, they used to deliver this to the ration shops and then to the consumers. So these are the costs which involved in Rajasthan. And I'm glad that this government also had taken up various fortification programs, and it has been announced recently by Honorable Chief Minister of the state. And this time really different. They are not only talking about the flour fortification, they are also talking about the salt fortification, oil fortification, and also milk. And the difference this time would be they will be using sodium iron 3 as a iron compound. And this is what Secretary has proposed, how we are going to take it up in the state. I also closely work with the state government of Delhi. So we started this program in Delhi as under the name of Mandari Fortified Flour. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, any questions from the audience?
Well, thank you, Dr. Subrata Datta, for enlightening us on this fortification of food and for micronutrients. And we have rightly seen that probably to address the deficiencies of micronutrients, probably fortification of food probably goes a long way in solving the problems. But again, as Dr. Kapil rightly pointed out, sometimes overzealous things without any evidence-based thing may also lead to a problem, because where he rightly pointed out the stability of iodine in double salt is still not proved. I thank all the delegates and the speakers for lovely deliberations on fortification of food. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Ghatak, sir, to felicitate Dr. Subrata Datta, sir. Now I request Professor Pankaja Raghav, ma'am, to felicitate Professor Vijayalakshmi Nag, ma'am. I again request ma'am to felicitate Dr. Ghatak, sir. All the dignitaries are requested to please have lunch, and the sessions will continue.